car is called Solar Flare. It's my 1963 Corvette that I built to autocross and road race. The car's only been done a few weeks, but has already been in the winner's circle. I'm Bob Bertelson, builder, owner, and driver. Come along with me on my journey, the build of Solar Flare. After finishing Green Mamba, my 1968 Corvette, and finding my way into the winner's circle, I tried to envision what would I build next. I decided to build another Corvette, this time a C2. I called Gary Regal at Regal Design to discuss the rendering. The car had to be performance-based, functional, 315 tires, unique and distinctive, fender flares, carbon fiber components, and have an aggressive look. Gary drew the rendering of what would become Solar Flare. With the renderings well underway, I searched high and low to find the perfect donor car, something without matching numbers or rare. I found a 1963 Corvette Roadster in Long Island and had it shipped to my house. With the car in my possession, the first order of business was the new carbon fiber top. I took the car to Zach at Fiber Forge Composites. We replaced the side glass with coupe glass to eliminate the taper, giving us a much cleaner look. Zach's team then scanned the whole car. His team and Gary Regal designed the complete roof system, including the removable target top. Zach then 3D printed the top, test fitted it to the car, made the molds, and then made the carbon fiber roof. While the car was still in Zach's possession, he 3D printed flares for the car, mounted them, pulled molds from the printed flares, made fiberglass flares, and installed them. While the car was at Fiber Forge Composites, I started on the frame. I added Speed Ray front suspension and Decalink rear suspension from Detroit Speed. I chose their components because my 1968 Corvette Green Mamba corners exceptionally well and has won many events. When the car returned to me from Fiber Forge Composites, I started on the headlights. Zach had printed 3D plastic molds of the headlight pocket and I laid them up with fiberglass. I trimmed the pieces to fit and ground a taper on all the edges. I then used my fiberglass chopper gun and resin to install these pockets. Aaron Oberle from Michigan Machine Works made the billet aluminum headlight housings. Each would hold 5 rigid Ignite LED lights. I changed the center LED from white to amber for my turn signals. I then powder coated the housings in texture gray. I then moved on to the front nose. I designed brackets in CAD to hold the front splitter and had RC Fab plasma cut them. Hickey Metal Fab laser cut the mock-up splitter out of 1/2-inch aluminum. With the splitter in place, I hot glued foam and sanded it until I had a mirror image of what Gary had designed in the rendering. I applied resin and used my chopper gun to cover the foam. Once cured, I peeled out the foam and ground the fiberglass smooth. With the front done, I moved to the side of the car. The factory vents are non-functional. I wanted to remove hot air from the engine bay, so I redesigned the vents and made them functional. Using foam and my chopper gun, I built the new vents. In the rendering, Gary had removed the power bulge from the cowl area. I cut the bulge out and laid foam in its place. I also filled the cowl vents with foam and then covered these areas with fiberglass. With the front half of the car complete, it was on to the rear. I wanted a trunk to be able to take tools, coolers, and chairs into events. I started by laying wax paper on the area where the trunk deck lid would go. I laid 3 layers of fiberglass mat on the wax paper. When cured, I made and installed a wood frame to strengthen and hold the deck lid mold from moving. Using the mold I made for the trunk deck lid, I laid 4 layers of fiberglass in it. I also used this mold to make the frame that would hold the trunk seal to keep water out when it rained. Michigan Machine Works machined the billet hinges, and I installed a brace in the car for the hinges to pivot on. I epoxied aluminum blocks to the bottom of the deck lid for the hinges to bolt to. The trunk lid was then installed on the car. The trunk was now where the old fuel fill had been. I relocated it and had Aaron at Michigan Machine Works make the new billet fuel fill. I designed my own fuel tank with baffles and dual pickups that would fit under the trunk area. I installed a hatch in the bottom of the trunk area to give me access to the GM ZL1 fuel pump and VaporWorks fuel management system. The rear tail panel was next on the list. I laid out and cut the openings for the 3 vents. The purpose of the vents is to let air out of the cabin of the car for less air resistance when racing. Next, I shaped the foam, glued it in place, and laid up the fiberglass. It was now time to build the cowl hood. I designed in CAD metal strips and had RC Fab Plasma cut them. I hot glued a piece of 2-inch foam, then a metal strip, then foam, a metal strip, and repeated the whole length of the hood. I then carefully sanded the foam until the edge of the metal was just showing. I used resin in my chopper gun to cover the foam. Once cured, I flipped the hood over and removed the foam and the metal strips. I then designed a new brace for the bottom of the hood out of foam and glassed it in place. With all the fiberglass work done, I rolled the car into an oven at A+ powder coaters and heat cycled it 3 times. I have found heating and cooling the fiberglass will prevent the fiberglass from moving when it's in the sun. I replaced the glove box with a drawer to house the American Auto Wire fuse panel and the Holley Dominator ECU. The drawer makes it much easier to wire and troubleshoot. I also made brackets to mount the vintage air heater behind the dash. I built brackets to mount the Recaro seats, then sent Solar Flare to Trick Labs for the initial interior mock-up. They built the dash, door panels, console, and trunk panels. Rick DeSalvo and I started the long, slow, tedious process of doing the bodywork. It took us about 4 months to get the car razor straight and then final primer. I prepped the car for paint and had my friend Phil Palmer come over and help me spray it. We used RM Diamond Mazda Sunburst Yellow Base and DC 5335 Glamour Clear. Phil and I double-teamed the spraying of the body and doors, and boy, did it turn out great. Once the car was dry, I sent it to Phil's house for a wet sand and buff, as I hate doing it and he's one of the best at it. While Phil was polishing the car, I focused on painting the hood and the trunk. Before putting the body back on the frame, I disassembled the suspension and frame and took all the parts to A+ powder coaters, where it was media blasted and coated in gray sand texture. I reassembled the frame and suspension and installed the freshly polished body on the powder-coated frame. The motor was built by Kurt Urban at Skog & Dickey. The LS7 makes 660 horsepower and 600 foot-pounds of torque at the flywheel. To keep the motor lubricated while racing, we use a daily 3-stage dry sump oil pump, and I built a custom 3-gallon oil tank. I exclusively use Skog & Dickey for their motors, as they have worked so well in Orange Rush, my 1969 C10, and Green Mamba, my 1968 Corvette. I use Holley EFI Dominator ECU for many of my builds, as they are easy to work with and have worked very well. Monitoring the motor is the Holley EFI 12.3-inch Pro Dash. It's easy to program and easy to see when racing. The Ace Manufacturing Track King clutch, a clutch that I tested for them in Green Mamba and found to be an exceptional clutch that is easy to launch at the starting line, was an easy choice for Solar Flare. I had Mark at Bowler Performance Transmission upgrade a T56 Tremec Magnum using their carbon fiber upgrade kit. I have found this upgraded transmission to be easy to shift and very reliable. The rear center section is a Gear FX driveline, hammerhead, with 355 gears and a TrueTrack posi unit. This is the same center section I used in Green Mamba and is held up to a lot of racing with no issues. I have been using Bear brakes for over a decade because they stop my cars on a dime. I installed Bear Brakes XTR calipers with 14-inch rotors and race pads. I've decided to try the Bosch Motorsports M5 Club Sport ABS system on this car. I picked Forgeline wheels DSP3 11.5 by 18 rims for the front and back of the car with black chrome centers and smoke translucent gray hoops. I picked this wheel because I liked the design and I knew it would be easy to clean. Forgeline builds some of the most stylish functioning wheels in the world. I run 315/30/18 tires on the car. Depending on the event, I either run BFG Rival S or Nankang CR1s. Both perform exceptionally well, and I switch between them depending on the track conditions. I installed Detroit Speed stainless steel headers and Hooker side pipes I had coated in Cerakote. I designed and built a cover for the side pipes that would prevent anyone from getting burned and powder coated them in gray texture. The taillights are stock housings, upgraded to LED lights and powder coated in gray sand texture. The side mirrors are Ring Brothers carbon fiber mirrors, which I powder coated to match. The interior was finished off by Josh at Trick Labs, where they recovered my new Recaro Sportster seats, covered the dash, door panels, trunk area, and floor with leather, suede, and Daytona weave carpet. I added Schroth safety harnesses because of the 2-inch shoulder belts, which fits my Hans device very well and are easy to adjust. The steering column is an I Did It tilt column with NRG quick release steering wheel. The exterior door handles are one-off door handles we designed. They are 3D printed and wrapped in carbon fiber. The bumper, splitter, rear spoiler, and rear diffuser are all carbon fiber, built by Fiber Forged Composites for solar flare. Safety is important to me, so I built an 1 5/8" roll bar with the help of Jeremy at Elite Welding. It was then powder coated and installed. I also installed a Safecraft 10-pound fire suppression system with nozzles on the motor, the fuel tank, and me, the driver. Solar flare took me about 22 months to build once the top was done. I did the majority of the work in my home shop, including the fiberglass work and paint work. I am not a professional builder, just a guy that loves to build cars and push myself to do better on every build. Solar flare has found its way into the autocross winner circle a few times. I'm very pleased with all the components I used to build this car. It performs and runs very well. The car has been selected as Good Guy's Muscle Machine of the Year finalist and made Good Guy Street Machine of the Year top 5. Both very big honors for me. So thank you for watching my journey, the build of Solar Flare. I want to thank my wife for her love and support. She's the most amazing woman I've ever met. I want to thank God for giving me the time, talent, and the finances to build such an amazing car. Without God, I am nothing.